Driverly.com, unlimited drama series.
How does a mother decide you're no longer family in one message? What happens when the family ATM pulls the plug? Lawfully, quietly, and all at once. Would you blame me for using the only thing they respected against them? My name is Ethan Crowell, and I'm 41 years old. I work as an operations supervisor at Midland Power Solutions, where I've spent the last 8 years making sure the lights stay on for half the county. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest work. I believe in systems, procedures, and reliability. When something breaks, you fix it methodically. When something doesn't work, you replace it. Simple. What I didn't realize until recently was that I had become a broken system myself, one that my family had been exploiting for years. Before we go any further, let me introduce you to the cast of characters in this family drama. First, there's my mother, Marianne Crowell. She's 62 and has perfected the art of manipulation through guilt and public performance. She's the kind of woman who can make you feel like a terrible son while picking your pocket clean. Then there's my younger sister Sloane, 35, who fancies herself an influencer despite having fewer followers than a small-town bakery. She's mastered the art of weaponizing family loyalty and social media tears to get what she wants. My older brother Gavin, 38, prefers the silent approach. He just uses my credit without asking and expects me to back him up because that's what family does. The golden child is my youngest brother Noah, 29. He's the center of most family events, blissfully oblivious to where the money comes from to fund his celebrations. Then there's my friend Priya Nand, an accountant who serves as the voice of reason when I need it most. She's the one who helped me understand that what I thought was generosity had become exploitation. My boss, Martin Hendricks, values reliability and respect, qualities I wish my family understood. There's also Todd Billings from the billing office, who gossips about everyone's business, including mine. And finally, Diane Mercer, my relationship manager at the bank, who helped me understand my rights when it came time to protect myself. It started on a Tuesday evening in my small apartment on Maple Street. I just finished reviewing the monthly dispatch reports when I decided to grab coffee from the break room before heading home. That's when I overheard something that made my blood run cold. "Oh, Ethan's so generous with his family," Todd was saying to one of the admin staff. "Always helping them out, paying for this and that. Must be nice to have a brother like that." The admin nodded knowingly. "Yeah, I heard his sister's always posting about these fancy dinners and trips. Family money, right?" I stood there with my empty coffee cup, listening to my coworkers discuss my personal finances like they were reading the morning news. The worst part? They weren't wrong. They knew something I'd been trying to ignore for years. When I got home that night, I did something I rarely do. I opened my banking app and really looked at the numbers. Not just the balance, but the transactions, the recurring payments, the automatic transfers. Sloane's car insurance, $180 monthly. Gavin's storage unit, $95 monthly. Mother's phone line, $75 monthly. Emergency grocery transfers to Sloane, $200 to $400 monthly. Gavin's credit card, authorized user, $300 to $600 monthly. Mother's temporary rent assistance, $500 monthly. The list went on and on and on. I was staring at this financial autopsy when my phone buzzed. Family group chat notification. I almost didn't open it. Family group chats are usually just my mother broadcasting announcements or my siblings sharing memes. But something made me tap it. The message was from my mother. "Ethan, after your behavior at Sunday dinner and your refusal to help with Noah's celebration, you are no longer family. We'll manage without you." Below it, I saw that Sloane had already liked the message. I read it 3 times. Then I read it again. No longer family. After years of being their personal bank account, after missing my own vacation plans to cover their emergencies, after saying yes every single time they asked for help, I was no longer family. The strangest thing happened next. Instead of anger or hurt, I felt nothing. A switch flipped somewhere in my brain, and suddenly everything became very clear and very simple. I typed back, "Thank you for clarifying. I'll cancel all auto payments tonight. Then I did exactly that. I started with the banking app, methodically going through every recurring payment, every authorized user, every automatic transfer. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Each cancellation required me to read through terms and conditions, which I did carefully. Everything was in my name. Everything was my choice to give. Everything was my choice to stop. The insurance company's website was next. Remove Sloan from auto policy. Confirm removal. The system estimated I'd save $180 monthly. Phone company was third. Remove 3 additional lines from family plan. The automated system informed me that removed users would have 72 hours to port their numbers or lose them entirely. By 12:03 a.m., I had canceled or removed 7 recurring payments, 3 authorized credit users, 4 insurance policies, 3 phone lines, 2 streaming service accounts, 1 storage unit autopay. My phone buzzed with confirmations from each company. Payment method updated. User removed. Service canceled. I set my alarm and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I needed to understand something. How had I become an ATM without noticing? I pulled out my filing cabinet and opened the drawer labeled Family. Inside were folders for each family member, filled with receipts, bank transfer confirmations, and printed text message screenshots. I'm methodical about record keeping, a habit that was about to serve me well. The Sloan folder was 3 inches thick. The earliest request was from 2019, just after my divorce. Hey, big brother, can you spot me $200 for groceries? Just until payday. You're the best. That $200 was never repaid. Neither was the $300 the following month or the $450 after that. I opened a spreadsheet and started entering numbers. Every transfer, every payment, every emergency that somehow became my responsibility. 4 years of data, $60,240 total, $60,000. Never questioned, never repaid, never even acknowledged as anything more than my generous nature. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. They've been planning something bigger. Thought you should know. I stared at the message. Someone was feeding me information, but who? I decided to test how deep this rabbit hole went. I drove to the grocery store where my family shops, the one near the church my mother attends. Sure enough, I overheard exactly what I expected. Oh, Marianne's boy Ethan is so good to that family, one woman was saying. Always making sure they're taken care of. Such a blessing. Yes, and did you hear about Noah's big celebration coming up? The whole family's so proud. Ethan's making sure it's done right. I stood there in the cereal aisle, invisible as always, listening to my financial exploitation being praised as virtue. Back home, I opened the Gavin folder. His authorized user status on my credit card started in 2020. Just for emergencies, man, I'll pay you back. The first charge was $89 at a gas station. By last month, he was charging $600 worth of electronics without even asking. The mother folder was the thickest. Rent assistance that started as just 2 months until I get back on my feet had continued for 3 years. Phone bills, utility deposits, car repairs, medical copays, all of it flowing from my account to her life, invisible and expected. I pulled up our family group chat history and started taking screenshots. The pattern was clear. Every request was framed as an emergency. Every payment was described as temporary. And every refusal on my part was met with guilt, manipulation, or threats. I guess I know where I stand with my own son. Family is supposed to help family, Ethan. Your father would be ashamed. Fine, I'll just figure it out myself. Again. Each guilt trip was followed by a payment from me. Each payment was followed by silence until the next request. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Check your email. Forwarded something you need to see. I opened my email. A forwarded message from someone named event coordinator at communityhall.com to my mother. Final payment for Noah's celebration banquet is due Friday. Please confirm payment method for the remaining $2,400 balance. My mother had replied, Ethan will handle it. He always does. That's when I understood. The bigger thing wasn't just another request for money. They had planned an entire event, Noah's celebration banquet, with the assumption that I would pay for it. They hadn't asked me. They hadn't invited me. They had simply planned to use my money and expected me to comply. The same family that had just declared me no longer family. Wednesday morning, I took a personal day and drove to First National Bank. I asked to speak with Diane Mercer, my relationship manager. Diane is professional, thorough, and has seen everything in her 15 years of banking. I need to remove all authorized users from my accounts, I told her. All of them. Diane pulled up my information. That's quite a few people, Mr. Crowell. Are you sure you want to remove all access? Completely sure. I also want to confirm that everything is legally in my name and that I have the right to make these changes. She reviewed my accounts carefully. Everything is in your name only. You added these individuals as authorized users, which means you can remove them at any time for any reason. There are no joint ownership issues here. And if they try to access the accounts after removal, they'll be declined. The cards will stop working immediately, and any automatic payments they've set up using your account information will fail. I signed the paperwork. 7 authorized users removed. 3 checking accounts, 2 savings accounts, 1 credit card. Clean slate. Next, I called my insurance company. I need to remove Sloane Crowell from my auto policy? Certainly, Mr. Crowell. I see she's been on your policy for 4 years. May I ask the reason for removal? She's no longer family. I understand. The removal will take effect immediately, and your premium will decrease by $180 monthly. The phone company was equally efficient. We're removing 3 lines from your family plan. The users will receive notification that they have 72 hours to port their numbers to a new carrier, or the numbers will be disconnected. By noon, I had systematically removed my family's access to everything I'd been paying for. Every system, every service, every financial connection had been severed. That's when the call started. Ethan, what the hell did you do? My card isn't working. Sloane panicked. My phone is saying it's going to be disconnected. Fix this. Gavin angry. Ethan Michael Crowell, you call me right now and explain yourself. Mother furious. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I called Priya and asked her to meet me at Murphy's Diner. She's an accountant, but more importantly, she's someone who understands the psychology of money and family. Show me everything, she said when I handed her my folders. Priya spent an hour reviewing my documentation. Bank statements, payment confirmations, message screenshots, cancellation notices. She's thorough, just like me. Ethan, you know this is financial abuse, right? It's family helping family. No, it's systematic exploitation. Look at this pattern. They isolate you when you resist, guilt you when you hesitate, and take more when you comply. This isn't generosity, it's conditioning. She showed me the timeline I'd created. Every payment was preceded by emotional manipulation. Every refusal was met with punishment. Every compliance was followed by increased demands. What you did yesterday was legally sound and morally justified. But you need to prepare for escalation. They're going to try everything to get you back in line. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. They're talking about making you look unstable. Be ready. Priya saw the message. You have an ally somewhere. That's good. But you need to document everything from here on out. Every call, every message, every attempt to manipulate or threaten you. I started a new document. Evidence log. Family financial abuse. Date, time, method of contact, exact words used, emotional manipulation tactics employed. The calls continued all evening. I didn't answer, but I listened to every voicemail, transcribed every message, and documented every guilt trip. Your own mother is crying because of you. This is what our family has come to? You're being selfish. Dad would be so disappointed in who you've become. We never asked for your help. You just gave it. That last one was particularly interesting. They never asked? I had 4 years of screenshots proving otherwise. Thursday morning brought clarity. I woke up early and spent an hour organizing my evidence. Everything was filed, labeled, and documented. Bank confirmations, cancellation notices, message screenshots, payment histories. If this became a legal matter, I was prepared. I called the storage facility where I'd been paying for Gavin's unit. This is Ethan Crowell. I need to cancel autopay on unit 247.
Since when do you carry men's cologne to the gym?
It's my trainer's. He left it.
Your trainer keeps his cologne.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Certainly, sir. The payment is due Friday. Should I process one final payment? No. Cancel the autopay effective immediately. I understand. The renter will be notified that payment is required within 10 days, or the contents will be considered abandoned property. Perfect. Gavin had 10 days to figure out how to pay $95 monthly or lose whatever he'd been storing on my dime. I drove past the community event hall where Noah's banquet was scheduled for Saturday. The parking lot was busy with delivery trucks and event staff. I could see the scale of what was planned. This wasn't a small family dinner. This was a full-scale celebration for at least 100 people. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. They're trying to figure out what you're planning. Stay quiet. I was starting to understand who my anonymous ally might be. Someone with access to event planning information. Someone who could forward emails and overhear conversations. Someone who wanted me to know what was really happening. The family group chat was fascinating to watch. Noah was posting excited messages about Saturday's celebration. Sloan was sharing photos of her outfit. Gavin was asking about parking arrangements. Normal family excitement for a big event. Except none of them had invited me. And all of them were assuming I would pay for it. I spent Thursday evening at the car wash, thinking. The methodical process of washing, rinsing, and drying my car helps me organize my thoughts. By the time I was done, I had reached a decision. I would attend the banquet. Not because I was invited, I wasn't. Not because I wanted to reconcile, I didn't. But because I wanted to be present when the consequences of their choices became public. I went home and prepared. I printed every piece of evidence and organized it in a folder. Bank statements showing $60,240 in payments. Screenshots of the no longer family message, confirmation notices for every cancellation, insurance removal confirmations, phone service terminations, storage unit cancellation. Everything was documented, legal, and final. Friday morning brought final confirmations. Insurance company. Sloan Crowell has been removed from your policy. Phone company. 3 lines will be disconnected at midnight unless alternative payment is arranged. Bank. All authorized users have been removed from your accounts. I received one last message from my unknown ally. Event coordinator is expecting payment tomorrow before service begins. They don't know it's not coming. I set my alarm for Saturday morning and went to bed early. Tomorrow would be interesting. Saturday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. Coffee, shower, simple clothes. Nothing fancy, nothing apologetic. I wasn't going to the banquet to make a scene. I was going to watch other people make one. I reviewed my evidence folder one final time. Everything was in order. Bank statements, cancellation confirmations, message screenshots. 4 years of financial exploitation, documented and organized. The family group chat was quiet. Too quiet. Usually the morning of a big event, my mother would be sending reminder messages and last-minute instructions. Today, nothing. I checked my account balance. For the first time in years, I could see exactly how much money I had because it was all mine. The recurring payments that had been draining $1,255 monthly were gone. That money was staying in my account where it belonged. I drove to the community event hall and parked across the street. From my car, I could watch the setup without being seen. Catering trucks, flower deliveries, sound equipment. This was easily a $3,000 event, possibly more. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. They think you're bluffing. You're not, right? I typed back, no, I'm not. The response came quickly. Good. They've earned this. I watched as my family members arrived. Mother in her best dress, directing traffic like she was coordinating a royal wedding. Sloan with her phone out, already taking photos for social media. Gavin looking uncomfortable in a suit that probably cost more than his monthly storage fee. Noah looked genuinely happy. He was dressed up, smiling, hugging relatives as they arrived. For a moment, I felt bad for him. He really didn't know where the money came from. He thought this was just his family celebrating his achievements. But then I remembered. This was the same family that had declared me no longer family while planning to use my money for their celebration. Noah's ignorance didn't make their exploitation acceptable. I sat in my car for another 20 minutes, watching guests arrive. Church friends, work colleagues, extended family, all of them expecting a lovely celebration, none of them knowing it was about to collapse. At exactly 2 p.m., I got out of my car, walked across the street, and entered the community event hall. The hall was beautiful. Round tables with white linens, centerpieces with fresh flowers. A banner reading, "Congratulations, Noah," stretched across the back wall. About 80 guests were mingling, drinks in hand, admiring the setup. I stood near the entrance, observing. My family was scattered around the room, playing host. None of them noticed me at first. Sloan spotted me first. She was taking selfies near the flower arrangements, when she looked up and froze. I watched her face cycle through confusion, recognition, and panic. She rushed over to my mother, whispered something urgent. Mother's head snapped around, scanning the room until she found me. Her expression went from surprise to anger to something that looked like fear. They approached me together, Sloan slightly behind my mother like she was using her as a shield. "What are you doing here?" Mother hissed, keeping her voice low. "You're not welcome." "I'm family," I said calmly. "Isn't this a family celebration?" "You know exactly what I meant in that message. Leave. Now." "Actually, I'm not sure I do know what you meant." "Could you clarify?" Sloan jumped in. "Don't be dense, Ethan. You're causing drama on Noah's special day." I'm standing quietly near the door. "How is that causing drama?" That's when the event coordinator approached our little group. She was a professional-looking woman in her 40s, carrying a tablet and wearing the expression of someone dealing with a problem. "Excuse me, Mrs. Crowell. I need to speak with you privately about the payment." Mother's face went pale. "Payment?" "Yes, the final payment for today's event. Our card processor declined the payment method on file. We need an alternative form of payment before we can begin service." I watched my mother's eyes dart around the room, calculating. 80 guests, catered meal, open bar, flowers, sound system. Probably $3,500 minimum. "There must be some mistake," its mother said. "Run the card again." "We've tried 3 times, ma'am. The card is being declined." "Do you have another payment method?" That's when Sloan stepped forward. "Here, use mine." She handed over her credit card with the confidence of someone who had never been declined. The coordinator stepped away to process the payment. We all waited. Mother was trying to look calm, but I could see the panic in her eyes. Sloan was fidgeting with her phone. Gavin had noticed the commotion and was walking over. The coordinator returned. "I'm sorry, this card was also declined. Do you have another option?" Sloan's face went red. "That's impossible. Try it again." "Ma'am, we've tried it twice. The card is not processing. We need payment before we can serve the meal." Gavin reached for his wallet. "Here, try mine." Same result. Declined. That's when all 3 of them turned to look at me. "Ethan," Mother said, her voice taking on that familiar guilt trip tone. "Help us out here. We can sort out our disagreement later." "I can't help you," I said. "What do you mean you can't help?" Sloan's voice was getting shrill. "I mean I can't access the accounts you're expecting me to use. I canceled all the auto payments and removed all the authorized users." The silence that followed was beautiful. I could see each of them processing what I'd said, understanding dawning on their faces. You did what? Mother whispered. I followed your instructions. You said I was no longer family, so I stopped paying for family expenses. You can't just cancel everything. Actually, I can. Everything was in my name. I had every legal right to cancel payments and remove authorized users. By now, we had attracted attention. Other guests were starting to notice the heated conversation near the entrance. Phones were coming out, not for selfies, but to record what was clearly becoming a scene. The event coordinator was getting impatient. I'm sorry, but we need to resolve this payment issue immediately. We have other events scheduled today. That's when I decided to make everything clear. For the past 4 years, I said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear, I have paid $60,240 in family expenses, car insurance, phone bills, rent assistance, credit card payments, storage fees, emergency groceries, medical co-pays, and countless other temporary expenses that never ended. Mother tried to interrupt. Ethan, this isn't the place. On Tuesday evening, I received a message in our family group chat. My mother informed me that I was no longer family and that they would manage without me. My sister liked that message. I pulled out my phone and showed the screenshot to anyone close enough to see. So I did exactly what they asked. I canceled all automatic payments, removed all authorized users from my accounts, and let them manage without me. The room was getting quieter as more people tuned in to what was happening. The event you're all here to enjoy was planned and organized without my knowledge or invitation, but with the assumption that I would pay for it. The same week they disowned me. Sloan was frantically trying to damage control. He's being dramatic. This is just a family misunderstanding. Is $60,240 dramatic? Is 4 years of payments without reciprocation dramatic? Is planning an event you can't afford and expecting someone else to pay dramatic? The event coordinator had heard enough. I'm sorry, but without payment, we cannot proceed with service. You have 15 minutes to resolve this, or we'll need to ask your guests to leave. That's when the begging started. Ethan, please, Mother said, her voice breaking. Don't embarrass us like this. These are our friends, our church family. I'm not embarrassing you. I'm simply not paying for your event, just like you asked. We didn't ask you not to pay for things. You asked me not to be family. In my experience, non-family members don't pay for each other's celebrations. Gavin tried a different approach. Look, we can work this out later. Just cover this one thing and we'll figure out a payment plan. A payment plan? Like the payment plan for the $60,240 you've never acknowledged or attempted to repay. By now, half the room was listening. Church friends, work colleagues, extended family. All of them realizing that the generous, reliable Ethan they'd heard about had just cut off the money supply. The whispers started immediately. He's been paying for everything? $60,000? They disowned him and expected him to pay? Did she really send that message? My mother made one final desperate play. Fine! You want to destroy your own brother's celebration? You want to humiliate your family in front of everyone? This is who you really are. I looked around the room at all the faces staring at us. Then, I looked back at my mother. No, I said. This is who you really are. I'm just no longer paying to hide it. The event coordinator announced that without immediate payment, the event was canceled. Catering would be packed up, bar service would end, and guests were asked to leave. I walked toward the exit as my phone buzzed with a banking app notification. Monthly recurring payments, $0. Available balance, $1,255 more than last month. Behind me, I could hear my mother's voice, desperate and pleading, trying to convince guests that this was all a misunderstanding. But the damage was done. Their reputation, built on my invisible financial support, had collapsed in front of everyone who mattered to them. I got in my car and drove home. For the first time in 4 years, I had $1,255 extra in my account. Money that was mine, earned by me, staying with me. The anonymous texts stopped after that day. I never found out who was feeding me information, but I suspect it was someone from the event planning company who had watched my family assume I would pay, while simultaneously excluding me from their plans. My family tried calling, texting, and emailing for weeks afterward. The messages followed a predictable pattern: anger, bargaining, guilt, threats, and finally, silence. I kept every message, documented every attempt at manipulation, and filed everything in my evidence folder, just in case. 6 months later, I used some of that extra $1,255 monthly to take a vacation to Colorado. I hiked, read books, and enjoyed the silence of not being anyone's emergency contact or backup payment plan. I posted one photo on social media, me standing on a mountain peak with the caption, "Managing without them." Sloan liked the post. Some patterns never change, but some do. The difference is knowing which ones you have the power to break. If you enjoyed this story of systematic revenge and family boundaries, you might appreciate my other stories about quiet people who finally stop being quiet. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own choices. What would you have done in Ethan's situation? Have you ever been the family ATM? Let me know in the comments below.